Oh, while I'm organizing, let me also put Albino as a co-host so he can do all things that is needed for our sign language interpreter. So hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Vanessa Macamo, and I'm here today to present this program that is important for us. We will discuss the importance of music to teach or to empower children with disabilities. We have two guest speakers. They are teachers, but they will introduce themselves before we start and before I start with the questions. We have today Stella Ferrão, and we also have Carlos Garcia. They will be with us and they will explain how their experience have impacted their lives in terms of being a teacher, music teachers, and making inclusion possible for children with disabilities who are interested in learning music. I will not waste time. They normally say women's first. I will invite you, Stella, to introduce yourself. For 5 minutes. And then I will pass the word to Carlos and then we will start our session so they know with whom they are leading.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Albino, I'm sorry if I don't know if I'm doing something wrong related with the interpretation with sign language, so please feel free to organize our room the way it's needed. Okay, thank you. Um, so Stella, please.
Hi, to everybody. My name is Stella Ferrão. I've been in music since I was 5. I started studying music when I was at the Escola Nacional de Música, which is in Mozambique, and my interest kept growing. Although when I started, my parents forced me pretty much, but my interest started growing. In the music school, we did like 7 years of the basic training, and then after I finished high school, I went to university in South Africa. That's where I continued and furthered some of my studies. Um, so I kept traveling around the world trying to learn new techniques on teaching. And one of the subjects that interested me was to teach children with disabilities like autism, ADHD, and any other disability that the teachings were not really inclusive for all of those children. So that's how I started my path into searching. And then I moved to America, and since I've been here, I've came across different types of children with different types of disabilities and abilities.
Thank you, Stella. And Stella, feel free to choose which is the best language for today. I prefer to use English because of Carlos, so it will be more easy. And since we have the interpretation, so please, you have the choice. Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself. Carlos, please, can you also introduce yourself so we can know you before we start?
Yes, thank you. I am Carlos Garcia Ramirez. I am from Mexico, Sonora, Mexico, pretty close to Arizona. And I start studying music since I was 8 years old. So I start playing percussions, I moved to violin, and then I start playing bassoon, which is my primary instrument. I complete my bachelor's degree in music education at the University of Arizona, as well as my master's degree in special education, and now I am completing my PhD in special education with the research interest of including music education as a prevention and behavioral intervention for the students with behavioral disturbances,
Mm-hmm.
but also creating inclusive practices for orchestra and choir. I am an orchestra and choir conductor. In Mexico, when I was there, I worked for 9 years and I found a national program for students with disabilities, and I found another program for the students with disabilities also where they can improve their social emotional skills by practicing music and practicing daily orchestra classes. And I have many experience as an orchestra conductor, as a bassoonist. I always say I have the privilege to meet very famous artists in classic music. I conduct many others. And yeah, that's a long story. And yeah, I can just talk about that later. But thank you for this space, Vanessa. Vanessa is my colleague in the PhD program, and I am very happy being here. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Carlos. Yes. And I didn't know that I was sitting near a famous one person. Thank you, Carlos. I think Stella hand up touching my first question, which was what inspired your involvement in inclusive music education? So probably we'll start with you, Carlos. What inspired you to involve in inclusive music education? And then Stella, if you want to put some more information in this topic, please feel free, because I think I feel something there when you were talking. Carlos, please.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that happens in 2014. I was working in Mexico at that time, and the program that we have, we didn't have experience in special education, right? The most of the other teachers, I was the principal of the school and the orchestra conductor, and the teachers' teams, they mostly are still musicians, not educators, which is pretty different when you're an artist, but it's pretty different to be an educator. So, of course, the students with disabilities start going to the program, asking for information, asking with interest to be a part, to belong to the program. And we feel like, oh, fortunately, we don't have the experience working with the students with disabilities, and we don't know how to work with them. So, there is when I see starting and doing a research about how I can include these students. So, after some years, we start welcoming students with disabilities. But there, when I see the effects of music and how they improve their social emotional skills, how they improve their self-confidence, is when I decide to be working full time in a special education as a music educator. So basically, it was just my inspiration was the students that start coming to my program and asking for classes.
Okay. And also from what I understood, the fact that you were able to see some changes in the way they were behaving.
Yes, I have a little story there. So I remember one of the students, he has autism and struggling a lot with social emotional skills, especially collaborating with other people and try to suicide like 3 times, I think. And after 2 years in the program, the sales team and the confidence that this person get through playing in the orchestra, it was a huge change. So there it was an inspiration. We actually did a documentary, a video documentary, which is in YouTube. You can watch in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
This person is talking about how he decides to change and believe in life because he discovered his power, his talent, and how to connect with other people, which I think is just magical and it's just
Mm-hmm.
amazing effect of being a music student.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stella, I don't know if you want to add something here
Yeah,
or
I will
we
add
can.
my own personal journey into music education because it started also from personal experience because I am on the spectrum as well. And it grew in a deep belief that individuals deserve a chance to find their voice through music, regardless of the ability, the background, circumstances. Me being a piano teacher and musician, I've worked with students from all walks of life. Like some were neurodiverse, some were like underprivileged communities, and others were just simply overlooked by traditional methods because some teachers just use a certain pattern to teach, and they're not open to learning newer versions to adapt to different ways of learning. So I quickly realized that the standard one size fit all approach was leaving some students behind, especially the ones that needed a different kind of patient communication, creativity. And I started paying more attention to that around 2019, which is when I moved to the United States. And I was moved on how music empowered children, like how Carlos was sharing his experience just now with that student that almost committed suicide. Uh, so the students sometimes have, or people in general, have problems expressing themselves with words, and how the entire presence, how that presence can change once they start learning the piano or any other instrument, because this is not exclusive for the piano, but I am touching on the piano because I'm a piano teacher. So then I started working with the Suzuki method, some improvisation, and even some spiritual mindedness, because I am a Christian and I add that spiritual side to it. And it's interesting because sometimes students would even be manifesting bad spirits in my lesson, and I'll be like, what do I do? Because I'm not a pastor, I'm just a Christian. So I would know that this is not normal. But how do I help this student? Literally, sometimes you would see me getting in prayer to help that student overcome that situation. So for me, teaching is not, or teaching the way I teach is not just about a lesson. It's about listening. It's about honoring the student's story and creating a space where everybody feels seen and capable of creating something beautiful. So that's how I would describe my personal.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. This is really interesting. And I think I have a question for you too now. Both you can decide who is the first to to answer. My second question, and it's really related with everything that you already shared to us now. How do you define inclusive music education, particular for children with disabilities? How do you define that?
So for me, the children, defining this means creating a music learning environment where every children, regardless of their physical, cognitive, sensory, emotional, because sometimes it's also emotional. Children can be going through a situation where their parents get divorced, and then that affects their emotions, among other things. I just touched on this example. So the ability of fully learning meaningfully, and they can express themselves musically in a way that would honor their unique ability. So it's not about making them fit into a very rigid music program for me. It's about adapting the program to meet the needs of these children. That may involve some adaptive instruments, like, I don't know if Carlos is familiar with color coded notes, one hand piano methods, sometimes iPads for composition. You can also have multisensory teaching techniques like using some visual, because depending on which level on the spectrum the child is, you would need to kind of associate so they can link and connect with autism, and have a flexible pacing. Some of them are not like in a steady rhythm, so you have to kind of start working with them so they can get to the rhythm and play the songs in the right rhythm, and give them the social emotional support, which is helping them build that confidence, patience in the process of learning, and starting helping them feel the sense of belonging. And sometimes I would collaborate with therapists or the parents, which I do like for cooperating with parents, even though many don't understand. Many just feel like, here, take the student for the piano lesson. Do it.
Yeah.
You are the professional. We pay you for this and that. But it's interesting when they can take part of the lesson. I've managed to convince some parents to even join the lesson, to even take piano lessons, even if they didn't do it as a child, so they can understand what are the struggles that the kid is going through, so they can understand uh, how to help this child if they navigate certain struggles. So at this core, inclusive music education is rooted for me in the belief that every child is musical. There's people that go with like, "Mm, I don't think I can do this." For me, that doesn't sit right. For me, anyone at any age can do. Child, adult, anyone can do it. So it is basically for me the teacher's role to discover how best to unlock that musical or musicality within them. You know, so that's how I see this.
Wow, interesting. Andrea was saying on the chat that she's loving this conversation. I'm with you, Andrea. I'm feeling the same. Like, wow. Thank you so much, Stella. I think, yeah, you have really great points there, and you really touch me on the way, the reason, the way you define inclusive education, because somehow is how we also feel. Thank you. Carlos, it's your turn. How do you define inclusive education?
Yeah, I see this
Music.
in two different directions. So one is for educators, the other one is for society or musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think a musician and music educator is totally a different perspective of music acquisition. So for music educators, I think inclusive music education is where you provide the same opportunities for all learners and you create the accommodation as Stella mentioned. You create the accommodations, you modify instruments, you modify your schedule, you need to be open to modify anything you need to modify to create this access to everyone, right? Because sometimes we might not creating this inclusive access for everybody because we cannot understand how to do it or many other things. The other perspective is for students or musicians. So inclusive music education is where they feel welcome, where they feel value, where they feel this is a safe space to be myself, right? To be open, whatever I want to do. I don't feel excluded for any reason. And also, it's also a culture that we have to create with other people without disabilities to really not understand deeply what is that, what is disability about it, but just be respectful, right? And understand sometimes other people might need our help, especially in music, because when we are creating music, always we collaborate, right? It's a teamwork. It's a natural teamwork. We need to collaborate. For example, in orchestra, we need to play with the violins, or if you are playing clarinet, you need to listen to the flute, or you need to respect the trumpet player because they have a solo. So we really learn in that way how to work in team and how to respect other opinions, other expressions, and that's something it's natural being in music education. So, and that's how I see basically in conclusion is just creating spaces, safe spaces with anything you need to change to open this access for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you both for this introduction and for situating us, because there are some people that they really don't know. Okay, when we speak about inclusive education in music field or area, what does it mean exactly? And this will link, both of you have mentioned and talk about it, but this will link to my next question, which is, why is it important? Why is it important to introduce inclusive music education to both mainstream schools and special education schools? Here we are talking about the two settings. Why it's important to include in I will call regular setting, and why it's important to include in a special education uh, setting.
Well, I could start by answering that both, including the inclusive music education across both mainstream and special education is crucial because it promotes the equity, belonging, and shared growth for all students, not just the ones with disability. And going for the mainstream setting, inclusive education would practice and make like it would ensure that students with diverse needs aren't left out or marginalized. When you have children in a setting of all abilities learning music together, it kind of helps them foster some sort of empathy, understanding, and collaboration. Because I mean, you have the ones that are struggling and you have the ones that are not, which actually doesn't mean having a child with disability that it's that child that's going to struggle. Actually, you can have a child that's not neurodivergent or any other disability that would be struggling more than the children that have disabilities. So it helps them understand, cooperate, and it sends a clear message that everyone deserves access to the creativity, self-expression, joy, and it also prepares the student for a more inclusive world. I keep telling my students, like when you learn piano, it's developing some grit in you, because one day you will remember that, okay, I had this discipline and this and that is what is making me be a more serious grown up, a more methodic, because you have to follow a certain method, a certain and for the special education setting, inclusive music education becomes a really powerful tool for communication, emotional regulation, the self-esteem. I will go back to the example Carlos gave. He had that student that almost committed suicide. I'm sure that once he started learning, his self-esteem went higher. And music can reach children where words cannot. It
Oh,
helps develop that social motor skill, cognitive, and in ways that engaging and affirming. I myself was a very shy person. I am still, and I went through therapy as well since I was small. But music is what helped me kind of expose myself more or be open to other things. So I do understand that the communication is really crucial. When you're learning an instrument, it does help you kind of develop this. And by making music education inclusive in these both contents, you are making sure that you bridge that gap between the general and the special education.
hmm.
You making sure that you normalize diverse learning needs with a wider school culture. You are allowing greater participation in community performances and activities. You are cultivating a musical community that reflects the richness of the world we live in. Like, for example, now I have an LLC. I'm not like Carlos that's working in a school. I
Mm.
have an LLC. And one of the things that I want to do is to make sure that my LLC also becomes a nonprofit so I can benefit more wider people that cannot afford the process of learning an instrument. So, in short, I would just say that music education isn't just about teaching, but it's about teaching humanity through music.
Oh, wow. I mean, Stella, I think you know I want to learn piano. And I think with
Mhm.
your words now, I'm like, I need to find this money to start my classes. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow, it's amazing. Carlos, now I don't know, Carlos, when Stella starts, I think you are put in the spot. Please.
Yeah, so basically, this is important for typical learners and
Mhm.
people in students with disabilities. This is important to have it in the educational system, period, right? By the why, because music has different benefits, many different benefits and uses for society. For example, neuro development benefits, and
Mhm.
actually social emotional skills development you can get from music. And as society, that I already said, studying music really teach us how to work in teams, which is very important because always in this society we are working in teams. We need to collaborate, but we need to learn how to collaborate in the healthy way, right?
Okay.
Because the reality is sometimes working with other people, we might not understand their culture, they believe, how they work. And this can be very toxic sometimes for other people in the team. And working in music, you learn cultures because you sometimes have to play a piece from other country and you need to learn about the composer, why the composer put these notes there, why was the inspiration, right? For example, I don't know, Tchaikovsky from Russia or things like that. So you learn about the culture around the world. You open your eyes and your mind and you say, we are not the unique ones in this world, right? Over there, outside of my comfort zone, my country, it's more people, it's different cultures, different ideas. So I don't need to understand their culture, but I need to respect them and just learn from there. So that's something magical for people, typical learners and students with disabilities. And also because talking especially in special education and exceptional education,
Mhm.
music is a tool that we can use to regulate behavior, that we can use to teach because we can get instructional approaches, right? Sometimes they are struggling with math. So now I am working in a school district in here in Arizona, and we are using music for teaching. You don't need to be a musician, but you can teach math by singing, for example, or you can teach
Oh,
biology by, I don't know, any other strategy. So there are uses of music because music is therapeutical, right? Have has a therapeutic uses that we can approach as educators, and especially when we need to be when we need to use direct instruction and when we need to use um, different strategies to teach students with disabilities, music is a great tool to use, right? And then, I mean, it's wonderful, right? I am a musician and I can say many beautiful things about music, but really, in special education is very helpful. We are finding more uses in research because, unfortunately, for some reason, we don't have many people with the interest to work in special education. And now we are finding more people getting interest on that, which is perfect. And that's great because we can use it for many, many, many things. And yeah, just the whole picture is it just give us an understanding about the differences of other people and why we need to respect them. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this topic I'm feeling now like, very, wow, it's so interesting. And I really appreciate the fact that you are doing the work you are doing now. I have a message in the chat, clapping for Andrea. I have a message in the chat from Emma Gita. She's saying that she's learning. Obrigada, Emma. Realmente a ideia é esta, este é mesmo um espaço para estarmos aqui e aprendermos. E eu vou pedir também, eu acho que vocês perceberam que temos interpretação, não é? Para inglês, português e inglês. Então, queria mesmo que fizessem uso dos serviços. Se tiverem a ter alguma dificuldade, escrevam no chat. Nós temos aqui a equipa da Extra Língua, que é a nossa parceira aqui, que vai apoiar-vos em tudo que vocês precisarem. Por favor, não podemos ter barreiras linguísticas aqui para poder entender o programa, ok? Thank you so much. Carlos, I think you understood. I was just explaining that we have a interpretation from Portuguese, English to Portuguese, so to make sure that everyone is on the same page. E vocês também podem dizer-nos de onde é que vocês nos assistem, podem mandar uma mensagem no chat, podem também ir colocando as vossas questões, fiquem à vontade, ok? So you can also tell us from where you are watching us in this program, and you can write in the chat some questions if you have message the way you are doing now. So thank you for being here.
eu
I
falo um pouco de português. Is that right?
have
Yeah.
I love that, Carlos. This is what I like. You need to come to Mozambique because Mozambique is the really best place to be. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you. Stella, this is for you now.
Mhm.
Like, what strategies have you found most effective when teaching music to children with disabilities?
in my experience, in my humble experience, teaching music with disabilities has been one of the most rewarding parts of being a piano teacher or a music educator. And it also taught me like how to be a better listener. I was not this patient before. I started teaching when I was 15, so I I was not a patient teacher when I started, I must say. So I learned to be a better listener, a better communicator, better, I have better abilities to sort out problems. And the most effective strategies I used, one was the multisensory learning, which is like by using the visual aid, like the color coded notes, the tactile tool, such as rhythm sticks or texture keyboards, and have movement like clapping, marching, dancing, usually helps the students engage with music in ways that match their learning styles. Like sometimes I would help students relax in the hand technique by going, making them do this, ha, 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 you know,
Yeah.
some type of exercise that would help them kind of figure out, because technically the piano teachers would just go and say, put your hand, have the posture back straight, and sometimes the student is not understanding. They're like, the hands are like this, they're trying, there's a lot of things, and that helps me kind of develop different techniques. And another one is the routine aspect and the structure with some flexibility, which Carlos already added that. We have to have a structure, but we also have to be flexible for the minor changes that might happen, because children really thrive on clear routines, especially those with autism or ADHD. I've noticed that, for example, if my lesson is Tuesday at 3 p.m. and I change
Mhm.
it to Monday at 2, just because I have a doctor's appointment or any other thing that I might have going on my schedule, that student is going to be affected. So I do mind about that with these specific students that I know that if I change their routine, they are affected. But also they have issues which they are sick sometimes and we have to change. So we have to just be flexible enough to adapt based on how the child is feeling that day,
Mhm.
because sometimes also you're going to go teach a lesson. It's that time that they have to have a lesson, but that child is not in a good mood to have the lesson. So to keep the focus, they can maybe have a hard time focusing. So we might improvise, we might just play the songs that they want to do just to keep that energy going. And the other aspect would be breaking concept in small steps. Like instead of teaching the entire song in a day, you can break it in sizes. Like let's say I'll teach the first row. The student is not well focused to do the whole song. Let me just do either the first and the second. What I call the first row is the full measures. And then, so and we also make sure that we celebrate every milestone that the student gets, which helps them build the confidence and motivation. The fourth item would be the positive reinforcement into small steps. Sorry, the positive reinforcement and the patience. You know, you have to be consistently encouraging and celebrating, not just the outcomes, but you just say, as simple when I tell my student, oh yeah, you did this, it can light up their faces. Like yesterday, I was teaching a group Suzuki piano lesson, and although a few of them were like behind the beat and stuff, I was like, yeah, you guys are doing an awesome job. So then I saw the students change
Uh,
into trying to actually do the awesome job that they were not doing, into trying to get into the beat with the other students, because there they were like 4 or 5 students and they had to listen to each other, you know. So it's hard. Carlos knows this because he works with the orchestra. So I try to make this concept of orchestra with the piano, with the Suzuki method. And yeah, the positive reinforcement, building the trust and emotional connection, because I do try to make sure that the student feels at home when he's meeting me, when he's having a lesson. I'm not just that piano teacher that's cranky. Sometimes I might be cranky, but I try my best not to be. And I try to have that connection with them, make them feel safe when they see me. Some students will tell me stuff that they can't tell their parents, but they do manage to create that confidence in me to be like, okay, I have this secret, this and that happened. How can I navigate that? And that fosters that learning environment as well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stella. I think just by saying that, I think I will keep repeating that during the program. Just by saying that, I think I'm a kind of a student when learning something that I really need that push. I need to hear the teacher saying, "Oh, you are doing well," even if I'm not doing, that is the encouragement I need to proceed. So I mean, I love all the strategies that you have. But the last two that you mentioned it touched me because that it's me. I need you here, Soma mimosa.
That's
Thank
funny.
you for sharing.
Is that a
Carlos,
word in Spanish, mimosa?
I don't know. You know what is the meaning of mimosa? Yes, Carlos. What is the word in
In
Spanish for
Spanish.
that? I you mute, Carlos.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, mimosa, I think translating to Spanish is a different meaning for the what is this called in language? It is oh my gosh, I forget the name, but yeah, it means like you are very like a spoil. It might mean
Yeah,
can
That's
spoil.
good.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Mhm.
consentida is the word consentida.
Mhm.
Consentida.
Consentida, yeah.
Consentida. Yeah, I'm like,
Consentida.
but spoiled. Yeah, kind
Yes,
of. I want attention.
that's it. That's being
Yeah.
spoiled.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Or maybe chipilona too is another word we can use. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Learning.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, depending,
Exactly.
of course, depending on the context. I know I really need the teacher with me. Otherwise, mm-mm.
Yeah, that depends in the pragmatics. In language pragmatics, sometimes some words we can translate to some word, but we don't really use for that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Now it's your turn, Carlos. Like for you, how do you approach conducting inclusive choirs or orchestras with children of varied abilities?
Yeah, so that depends the culture of disability that the ensemble have. For example, sometimes people don't have an idea about what is a disability, what is an accommodation, on how they can support that. So what I do in those cases is I bring these students or people with disabilities and I gave them leadership role. For example, they have a solo.
Mm-hmm.
They are gonna play a solo, a violin concerto, whatever. In this way, they can demonstrate and they can feel like I can do also this. And this is a good also experience to the other musicians to understand them and to give them the opportunity to play something like that. Because the reality is in music, everybody's fighting for the solo. Right? We can say, oh, whatever, I don't care. I just can play whatever. But the reality is you want to play the solo. Especially if you play bassoon, right? We don't have many solos. So, but giving this to the vulnerable people in this context, it's a great idea and approach to start integrating these people that might need certain accommodation in that ensemble. And also, it's an opportunity for learning. I always say, if you don't understand how to support this person, don't worry. You can learn about it because I'm not expecting you guys are experts. And this is for other music educators and other educators in general. You need to
Mm-hmm.
be just open to learn and just how you can support and how you can create a better environment for everybody. And the best approach is communication, right? If you have any questions, you can ask me, you can ask to the other person in the respectful way, and just work together. I think that's important, the connection with everybody to follow the same goal, no matter your capacities or impairments. That's something we need to consider for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I think You brought here the really great points, and it's valid not only to teach music, but I think in other situations, in different education environments. I'm sorry, I'm not from this field. If my dad was here, he would be, I told you, Vanessa, you should do music. Because he even enrolled me in Escola Nacional de Música, Stella. But I think, probably I can understand better now, but I think at the moment, I was not so interested. So I was pretending I was going to school, but I was not going to school. So, but I think it's something that I need to do now. So I'm sorry for us who don't really understand what is to play solo. I'm just curious before I move to Stella.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have many different kind of solos. So a solo is basically with the entire ensemble or orchestra just playing the harmony of the music. So the harmony is the bed where where the principal melody lay down. So let's imagine that. So
Okay.
basically the solo is the most important part of that section or of that piece, and you are
Oh,
playing by yourself. Not anybody's playing the same melody. It's
oh,
like for singers, right? When you have a band, the band is playing, but the singer has the lyrics and is the
oh.
I mean, if you go to see a concert, you pay attention to the lyrics. You pay attention to the harmony. You pay attention to the melody. And you pay attention to the instruments that are playing.
I don't know if it's just me. Can you hear Carlos or is just
No,
me?
stop
No,
hearing him.
it's okay. I while we wait
Yeah,
for.
but what he was explaining is basically like, I don't know if you also like watching the gospel music in churches. There is
Mm-hmm.
always that part which either one singer does the solo, and then that person is mostly heard than the others. So that's what he was saying, that concept of having that voice or be heard. With the instruments, sometimes the pianist is doing the solo. Like with jazz music, you have moments
Mm-hmm.
which everybody's playing in unison, but there's a problem that the pianist or the guitarist would kind of uh, seria mais destacado, né? Porque está a fazer
Ok,
um solo.
sim.
Então é mais fácil a pessoa ouvir aquele solo e dizer, wow! You can hear a lot of those in Jimmy Drew. He
Uh-huh.
plays the guitar and he has his own music, but then there's moments
Ok,
that he's the main guy the whole time, but there's moments that he's soloing in his own music. So
ok.
yeah,
Não,
that
acho que percebi
mhm,
bem o que é agora com a
mhm.
explicação de ambos. So, I have a question for you, Stella. Can you share a success story where music had a transformative impact on a child with special needs? Oh, yeah,
I have plenty successful stories.
yeah.
Like I'll share maybe I'll try to share one or two. So I had a neurotypical student. His name was Liam, and he was around 9 and very kind, very expressive, and very empathetic. At the same time, I was working with another student. His name was Daniel, and he was 10, and he was autistic, nonverbal, and had difficulties with motor coordination and eye contact. And Daniel loved music, but often became overwhelmed in group setting, which what was one of the things I was teaching yesterday. I was in a group setting with students, and he played only single noted melodies, and even then with a lot of redirection. So one day I gently introduced the idea of playing music side by side with another student, which I try to do it with all my students, not just a performance, but as an experience. So I paired Daniel and Liam during one of our sections. It was not like a structured section. So we
Mm-hmm.
kept that piece simple. We just did a basic 1 degree, fifth, and first progression with a steady beat. And I gave Liam the chords and Daniel the melody. So what happened next was quiet but powerful. As Liam played, he looked over and waited patiently for Daniel's parts. They never played together. Attention that this is
Mm.
the first time that they interacted. So he was offering him that gentle smile and even adjusting to the pace. And Daniel, for the first time, didn't stop mid song or withdraw. He kept going. He was not perfectly playing it,
Mhm.
but he was steady. So when they finished, Daniel looked directly into Liam and gave a small clap. That small interaction transformed Daniel's confidence, you know. From them on, he started showing more engagement and stuff. And I had many other students. I've had students that, for example, they wouldn't talk to me as the teacher in the lesson. They would do everything I was telling them to do, but they wouldn't interact with me. And once I did a group session and stuff, they started feeling more confident to interact with me. And many of the students I've taught today are also bachelors in music. They studied music, they became teachers like I did, and they are working, which was a surprise because some of these students I forced them to play. I wouldn't say I, because the parents were the ones paying, but we forced them to play because they were like, no, you gotta persist, we gotta persist. And some of them reach out to me today. Oh, you know, we also teaching. I'm like, what? You? You know, that type of thing. So that is a success for me. That is a success
Wow.
to be
Um,
able to inspire them as
uh-huh.
well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Stella, for sharing that. Now, Carlos, I'm divided. I don't know which teacher I will choose to learn piano. If I go to Carlos or if I go to Stella.
Is
Hey.
Carlos a piano teacher?
Um,
You
Is
can have
Carlos a piano?
both. Yeah,
y-
actually, when you complete, I don't know if you're familiar with the music education programs here in the US. So you need to learn all instruments because when you are teaching in public schools, so if you are a band teacher, you need to teach all of the band instruments. Or if you are in orchestra, you need to teach all of the orchestra instruments. So yeah, when you go to a bachelor's in music education, you need to learn all instruments and how to teach those. So
Right. It
pretty.
depends from country to country because in South Africa you just have to choose two or three maximum.
Oh, that's cool. That's better than learn all the instruments in 4 years.
Yeah, no, they don't make you learn the. I think it
Yeah.
varies from university. Like in South Africa, in Norway, they just make you choose your strong one
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
learn.
Here you need to learn all the instruments and actually have a main instrument, which mine is bassoon.
Yeah. Who are you? You had to learn piano. Ooh.
Yeah, I took, we had to take here 5 semesters of piano. So
Some people hate piano. That's why I said, "Who are you?" Because
that's
I
me, but I have to play.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Carlos. The next question is for you, and don't worry because since I'm glad and I have two teachers, musicians here, Stella was able to finish very well the explanation that you were
Thank you, Stella.
giving.
My connection just dead. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question in the chat for both of you, but thank you, Lucilene. I will have the questions at the end. We are almost there. We have some particular questions for our guests now. Então, Lucilene, aguenta só aí um bocadinho. So, Carlos, a question for you. What tools or technology do you use to enhance access to music for children with disabilities? Do you have a specific tools or technology that
Mhm.
you use? Can you
Yeah, the
share?
first one is iPads or tablets. It's very cool
Oh.
because you can read the music. For example, if you are a visual impaired or having trouble visually, you can create a zoom in the music and you can see the parts of music bigger. So that's very helpful. And actually, tablets have different kind of access for deaf people, or if they need to really memorize something. And also you can use different colors in the music notation, which is very interesting for some people with disabilities because
Hmm.
it's like a multi neuro part to learn music, and you can use different colors. For example, an iPad is very helpful, or tablets. And I also do musical demos. So that's mean I create digital sounds and we can use those to learn the melody by hearing that and to as a reinforcement to really learn some parts in music and to create progress videos where students can assess themselves by seeing how I played 2 months ago and how I am playing now, or where I need to improve some areas of opportunity, for example. So yeah, I mostly use tablets because they have different many apps and different many options to create more accessible the music education. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I was saying that I will leave Lucilene questions to the end, but I think it's really important now because you mentioned tablet and her question is on the chat. I would like to hear from Professor Stella and Carlos. What changes would you like to see in the world of music to make it more accessible? And the reason why I'm asking, Stella, at least she knows and she has the context of Mozambique. You know, I, you may not have that context of Mozambique, Carlos, but you have your experience. For me, her question is really related to what you say. Okay, I did the connection with what you say by using iPad. I'm a student with disabilities. I love music, but my parents, they don't have conditions, for example, to buy an iPad. So I link that with her question. I would like to hear from you both. What change would you like to see in the world of music to make it more accessible? For parents, for example, who doesn't have the chance to have iPad, how would you do? Or you can answer her question, but link it to my question too.
Yeah, basically for me, we need to be creative. Don't feel frustrated and don't feel this is impossible because the most of the educators and the most of artists, we are creatives, right? And we're creating new things. So if you don't have access to that, maybe Mozambique is like Mexico. I just thinking in Mexico we're struggling a lot financially to create this kind of access. So I just gonna say you need to be more creative and just understand we need to figure it out a different way to teach, a different way to learn. And we can use, for example, colors. We can buy colors or we can buy in paper, we can use just different colors, for example, or we can make bigger copies, right? Sometimes copy machines are more accessible than iPads, so we can create copies, but maybe that looks like an extra work for music educators, but that's something we need to do if we really want to create um, access for everybody. So I just gonna say be open to create and understand this is something we need to do to create this access.
Exactly. Thank you. Stella, please.
I will complete what Carlos was saying by remembering what we did on our childhood. We didn't have Amazon that we could order books like we do here in America. Amazon also helps us order cheap instruments and stuff like that, or Facebook Marketplace. You just go like, oh, I want a piano, and there's a piano that's $100, and it's a full 88 key. But like we used to do copies in Mozambique. We didn't have the original hard book mostly. If I were to have one, I had to ask somebody that was coming to visit United States or Canada or Europe. That's how they would bring us the book. So the photocopy is a good system. The photocopy is definitely a good system. And one of the things I wanted to note from Carlos' part where you mentioned the iPad is that here in the United States, my students would record, I would record them doing what they were doing in the lesson. And then also that helps them like know what to practice when they're practicing. So that's a thing.
Oh.
But here, for example, in United States, you have the option of getting the low cost instruments, like I was saying, Facebook Marketplace, Amazon. They also have the programs. Vanessa was asking, oh, how do I get the iPad? Like in public schools, you literally get an iPad given by the school throughout the year, and then they take it back when the school year is done. That has been done to my son is autistic, and they give us the iPad, even though we also have an iPad at home. But I'm
Oh,
guessing that for the ones that cannot afford having an iPad, the government would give them an iPad so they can
okay.
work with different things, and then you bring it back. So in Mozambique, I would say we need more subsidized programs to get
Mm,
the money for the schools and communities to be able to access the digital tools. And we also would be wanting to have more representation, which is amplifying the unrepresented voices, because those kids are
mm,
unrepresented, you know. We have to
mm-hmm,
support musicians from the marginalized communities, racial cultures, gender, ability, you know. We have to create more diverse program that includes the music from all over the world, like Carlos was even mentioning, different
mm-hmm.
cultures. Sometimes you wouldn't understand Tchaikovsky because it's Russian. And I don't know who is the famous Mexican composer. Can you help us, Carlos, with that?
Yeah, we have many like Moncayo. Do you know Wapango de Moncayo? Pa, 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 pa. That's like
I actually know the song. I didn't know it was a
pa, pa,
Mexican.
pa, 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 pa. Yeah, it's very famous. So Moncayo, we have Juventino Rosas, so we have
Correct.
Silvestre Revueltas. Yeah.
Correct. You see, you have this Mexican ones, you have the Cuban ones, you have the Mozambican ones that are maybe not out there yet, and we have to start making more books and things about our culture. So that representation and that adding the diversity into certain programs is also what we're looking for. And I am personally interested in mixing and making a musical book for piano with those diversity. And another thing that we could do, like for to make sure that these people are accessing those things, would be a barrier-free venue. Like, for example, you have the concert halls here in the United States. You have access for example, children that or adults that have andam de cadeira de rodas. Sim, então em Moçambique eu não sei se esta acessibilidade está aberta para todos. E depois hearing aids and stuff like that. E criar mesmo tools, softwares that would adapt the instruments and voice control that can enable people to kind of overcome their physical limitations. And one other thing is the community engagement and collaboration, because the community, like the choirs, the bands, do some workshops that welcome all skills of levels and abilities, which is something I was also thinking of doing. And partnership with special music education, healthcare, social organizations that will broaden up the music's reach to, let's say, hospitals, refugee centers, prisons, senior homes, you know, and breaking the stereotypes would be the main one, like redefining the talent, the success, the valuing the
Mm-hmm.
expressive, therapeutical, and collaborative aspect of music, not just virtuously, but, you know, and creating above all a safe, inclusive space,
Yeah.
which addresses things like bullying and things like that. Just make sure that that doesn't happen. Just overall, that answers the question of the Lucilene.
Lucilene, yes. Lucilene, I can see a hand of Borges here, but Lucilene, I hope you happy. Tens alguma outra pergunta de reforço ou estás satisfeita, Lucilene? Eu aproveitei boleia para responder também a tua questão. Sim, sim, a Lucilene diz no chat, sim, sim, muito obrigada, thank you. So now, my goal or the way I organized the program was to have the questions at the end, but I think when I see Borges raising his hand, it's because it's a really a issue that need to be discussed now. And as I was telling you in the beginning, he is on the field. He's at Eduardo Mondlane University, but I will let him speak by himself. Borges, please. I saw your hand. I think you have a question.
Olá, tem tradutores também para o Carlos? Ou é
Sim.
melhor que fale inglês?
Yeah. Qual é o teu conforto? Yes, Bongi
Ah,
was asking if we can translate to Carlos. Qual é o teu conforto? Temos sim
tu,
tradutores.
tu sabes que eu estou confortável de uma ou de
De
outra
qualquer.
forma.
Yeah. So, the
Sim,
way
mas
you prefer, em
ok.
português ou inglês?
Ok, deixa-me falar. Se toda a gente percebe inglês, deixa-me falar inglês, mas eu queria falar mesmo em português,
Não, fala em
já
português
se pode
então.
ser
Carlos,
qual.
can you try to access the bottom for the interpretation? He will speak in.
Yeah, I can do that, and actually, I can maybe understand a little bit of the Portuguese, and you can just help me a little
Yeah.
bit.
Ok.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
fica à vontade em português, por.
Ok, perfeito. Então, muito feliz de estar aqui e mais uma vez obrigado, Vanessa, né, por estas provocações muito boas. Como sabes, não é? Os outros não sabem, mas eu sou um educador musical, sou investigador na área da educação musical. Levantei a mão porque estava a ouvir a Stella a questionar a questão a questionar a questão, não é redundância, do facto de não termos recursos como o que os Estados Unidos têm, não termos, por exemplo, books written, que, que retratam, não é? Que tem o nosso repertório, essas coisas todas. Então, eu, sobre isto, tenho pensado muito que temos que lembrar que nós somos uma sociedade com cultura de tradição oral. Muitas vezes o nosso pecado reside no facto de olharmos para o que os outros fazem e dizermos como é que nós chegamos ali. É verdade que um dia chegamos, mas neste momento eu penso que eu tenho pensado assim, como é que aproveitamos a nossa oralidade, a nossa cultura a Sônia André chama de oralitura, para desenharmos as nossas formas de ser e estar. O que é que eu estou a dizer? Estou a dizer que, se pensarmos assim, não seremos inclusivos não só em relação a nossa inclusão provável, não só em relação aos deficientes, mas não seremos inclusivos também para aqueles que vivem fora das cidades, por exemplo, onde até há preconceito sobre o simples levar uma criança deficiente para a escola. Mas a criança que não é deficiente, até a sétima classe, não é capaz de ler nada. Quanto mais introduzi-la para a linguagem musical. Quando lá há práticas musicais. A Stella, no início, falou, por exemplo, de usar Dalcroze, Kodály, Orff, por exemplo. Uma das propostas do Orff e de Kodály é mesmo o uso das canções folclóricas. No Ocidente, na Europa, nos Estados Unidos, por aí, hoje já pode estar escrito, mas estas coisas foram sempre transmissão oral, mesmo nos tempos de Kodály, creio. Então, penso que temos um trabalho, nós que andamos nesta área, de pensar como é que, através de Nkaringano a Karingani, eu ensino ritmo, como é que ensino altura, pitch. Eu estou a traduzir pitch para que a pessoa que está a traduzir aí para inglês não fala de height, não é? Porque é um termo técnico em inglês, diz pitch. Como é que ensino estas coisas sobre como é que se diz sobre a cor do som, não é? Mas através de Nkaringano a Nkaringano, através de Mbalele Mbalele, através daquelas de 6 anos, por exemplo, porque temos que lembrar também que penso que nós temos uma vantagem muito larga em relação a outras culturas, porque as nossas práticas musicais não se circunscrevem apenas no som, levam consigo uma educação holística, levam consigo drama, levam consigo poesia, levam consigo a formação do homem para o seu dia a dia. Então, como é que nós aproveitamos isto tudo que chamamos de artes musicais para a inclusão dos deficientes e daqueles que não têm acesso a estes meios, tomando em conta que nós ainda não alcançamos os patamares de ter a Amazônia em Moçambique. Eu não queria levantar questões, queria incendiar, aumentar o fogo a lenha na fogueira. Obrigado por ter aberto esta exceção. Disseste que era antes ainda da hora das perguntas, mas fiquei coçado e eu disse, é melhor eu expressar que é para alimentar mais o debate. E obrigado, Carlos e Stella, por, por esta alimentação que vocês trazem para este sábado à noite para mim aqui. Yeah.
Obrigada. Obrigada. Acho que cutucaste. I think he did well his job in inciting this conversation. Probably I will give you the space for both of you, Stella and Carlos, to comment on that before we move to other question. Please.
Yeah, I totally got it. So
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Um, Bom, ele estava praticamente em função daquilo, ou queres ser tu a dizer, Borges, em função daquilo que tu estavas a apresentar, ele estava a desafiar-nos ou a desafiar-vos a olhar também para aquilo que é a nossa realidade, não é? E ver como é que nós efetivamente podemos implementar algumas coisas, porque segundo Borges, se efetivamente olharmos para aquilo que são só as coisas que não existem, eventualmente nunca faremos as coisas acontecer. Se eu captei bem, Borges, mas
yeah.
pode escrever também no chat enquanto o Carlos vai dando a resposta. Please,
Yeah, so
Borges.
basically, I think this is based on the culture of everybody, every individual, right? So we need to respect that. And unfortunately, the academia system or the music academia system always teach us we need to be involved in Europe music from Europe, right? Music from there. They don't value sometimes music for minorities or music for other countries that they consider are not in the level of composers such Beethoven or Strauss or whatever. So, however, music that I said early is a great opportunity to value other cultures, other traditions, and also to give in reinforcements and extra tools to students with disabilities to learn things like language, things like how to express yourself, how to believe in your feelings, how to learn feelings. So sometimes students with behavioral disturbances are struggling to understand the meaning of the emotions. They don't know what means feeling sad, what means feeling happy. So, and one of the reasons they are having behavioral issues is because they are not able to express those emotions in time before the behavior escalate. So that's one example about why we need to understand the cultures and respect that culture and start working from there. And music is a perfect way to do it because the most of the composer they impress their culture and the situation that is happening in the society through music because music is a communication, is a language. So basically we can use music to learn another language and to train our brain how to learn another language, and that might be helpful for disabilities. For example, I am doing a research now about the use of corridos. Corridos is a Mexican genre, which is very controversial because people said corridos are not appropriate for younger people because corridos is a story or a song through the story about talking about somebody. Like, let's say I just gonna compose a song talking about Vanessa's experience in the United States, right? And I can say she did this, she blah 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 blah, and I just convert this story in a song. So that's corrido basically, and that's very controversial because corridos was from the Mexican Revolution and people used those to express about the situation that what's happening in the country. Of course, the government didn't like that because it was a way of expression in a way to say what's wrong, what we don't like. However, corridos have the power to really um, tell stories and learn from stories from real people and learn from those experiences, which is very helpful to learn social emotional skills. So that's an example there how we hide genres and things that we don't consider appropriate in the society but are helpful, right? So I remember, for example, we have Bella Bartok. She was a composer that make the most of their compositions using folklore. So there is an example how when we consider folklore, we can create more connection with our audience, more connection with people, and more engagement. So because we are using our culture, for example, I am using corridos because I am Mexican. It's something that I grew up with, and I feel that's a part of my culture, even if other people consider this is not appropriate or this is not academia level. But I feel that something is in me, inside of me, and that's something we need to consider with the students with disabilities when we are teaching music, because they might need the double of the engagement and they might need more options to be a part of the class. So I think it's very, very important to have that in mind and to value those music and be open to just explore all other options outside of the Europe composers.
Thank you, Carlos. I think you were able to reinforce or to answer some of the questions that Borges have. And today I have we have here a kind of teacher Stella. You know, she's a teacher, she's committed, she has many other activities. So she asked me before if she could be leaving early the meeting. So I will finish the questions I have for her now, and then I will continue with you, Carlos. And we can, if someone have some specific question to Stella, please, this is the moment to do the question. So Stella, Carlos explained how we use his materials, for example, to teach that. And for you, the same question. How do you adapt musical content from different types of disabilities? For example, visually, auditory, cognitive. How do you normally do and adapt the musical content? Oh, sorry, you mute, Stella.
Sorry, I forgot. So I was saying for students with visual impairment, I would use the tactile and auditory strategies, which means relying more on listening and communication rather than the visual notion. Like we can play, I may play a phrase and ask the student to just replay, echoing. And I've never had an experience with a blind student, but that's how I would do it with him. And of course, I would try to get the notation in braille and to help them read, you know, the music. And I would do the raised stickers or marks on the keys or instruments, which I don't like using, but I have used sometimes to kind of get the students going and give them the clear, consistent verbal cue, like move up, play the back, play the black keys, or just the right one, right hand. Encourage the oral learning as well, the improvisation, the memorization, which are often like strengths in blind or low vision, which I would figure, but I've never had any. That's like a thing. I should be advertising to get blind students as well. There are students that also have the auditorium impairment. I've never had such experience, but I'm guessing having the aids situated so they could hear and be more rhythmical with them, so they can understand the rhythm more and, understand that not everybody will be able to hear, but we have to develop a way to help them learn. And for students with cognitive disabilities, I just go step by step. I make visual schedules, routine-based learning, like I've mentioned on one of the questions. I create that predictable structure. I break the concept into small, repeatable chants and reinforce through repetition, songs, games. I adapt the notation using icons, colors, or shapes rather than traditional stuff, reading. And the movement, storytelling, play-based learning. I do play a lot with them to help them learn. The play is usually connected to what they're learning. And I focus on what the student can do rather on what they can and build the success and confidence first. So I would basically say that my approach is centered in flexibility, creativity, and care. I do observe how each student learns best and I adapt my content to meet their learning abilities rather than expecting them to learn the whole content just by plain sight, put it there and help them learn. I do see a question.
Thank you. Yeah. And Stella, if you can answer that in Portuguese, I will see if we can have a Bongi. Yeah, that was okay. I will see if we can have our interpreters translating to English. So all those who are hearing us in English, please, if you can switch the channel. I think the interpreter put the explanation on the chat. How can you do that? Because I will love to see Stella answering this in Portuguese. Probably it can be more easy eventually for Emma to understand. So, a primeira pergunta, the first question Emma has is, when should a child with special needs be referred to music? And then, is there a specific or recommended musical instrument for children with special needs? So, Stella first, and then you, Carlos, please.
Can you hear me, Vanessa? I'm not sure. Meus auriculares estão a ficar sem carga, não sei.
E às vezes ele vai e falha, há momentos que a voz está audível, há momentos que não, mas já consigo ouvir.
Então, vocês querem que eu responda em português?
Sim, o Carlos pode complementar em inglês também, mas também tem a tradução, né? Então, em português, por favor.
Ok. Então, uma criança com special needs pode ser mandada para aprender música o mais cedo possível. E, idealmente, eu diria que assim que o desenvolvimento no concernente ao diagnóstico é feito. E por quê? Porque a música consegue suportar a comunicação, o emocional, a expressão emocional, a interação social. Em inglês, motor skills. O que é motor skills em português?
Multiple skills,
Eu- Motor,
capacidades múltiplas.
desenvolvimento motor, né?
Yeah.
Desenvolvimento cognitivo. Então, uma das coisas que aqui nos Estados Unidos fazem é referrals. Eu não sei como é que é feito isso em Moçambique. In United States, you do referrals when a child is diagnosed with something. Speaking language is not detected. Do I have to accept a command here? I just got a command from the language change.
Não, acho que no teu caso não. Podes continuar à vontade, Stella.
Então, quando a criança mostra, por exemplo, alguns desafios emocionais ou no comportamento, às vezes eles têm dificuldades em expressar as suas emoções ou controlar as suas emoções. Têm ansiedade, ficam agitados, desistem. Então, a música ajuda ou desenvolver, pôr esta criança na música vai ajudá-lo a desenvolver-se. Por exemplo, outra coisa é quando tem retardamento da fala. Há crianças que demoram a falar. Esse é um sinal que eu, pessoalmente, também poderia pôr a criança a aprender o instrumento. Alguns também têm problemas de processar os sensores de uma forma diferente. Então, essa hipersensitividade, quando a pessoa nota essa questão, pode imediatamente pôr a sua criança a tentar aprender um instrumento. E algumas vezes a criança também tem sinais de que ele ou ela está ready para começar as aulas de música, né? Então porque há crianças que pedem por si, não precisa ser o pai a forçar e tal. Então, esse tipo de movimento, ou como ele responde quando tu pões uma música e a reação, vai também ajudar a ser um sinal para as pessoas poderem pôr as suas crianças. No piano, por exemplo, eu sempre digo que a idade apropriada para aprender é dos 3 anos em diante. Então, é por aí.
Um, obrigada, Stella. Eu estava aqui também a apanhar a tradução. Obrigada. Eu sei que a Stella tem que ir, a Emma diz obrigada. Acho que está satisfeita com a resposta, não é?
Uhum, sim.
É.
Ah,
Agora,
eu
Carlos.
tenho que ir, agora eu não sei,
Oh,
vou me
oh, sorry,
despedir.
sorry, everyone. Espera, dê-me só um minuto que eu estava aqui a tentar ver.
Yeah.
Deixa-me pôr isto off, está a atrapalhar-me. Ok. So, Stella tem que ir. Stella, eu quero agradecer mesmo a presença no nosso programa de hoje. Acho que foi uma discussão mesmo. Ainda tenho umas 3 perguntas para a Stella, mas tenho a certeza que o Carlos também vai complementar porque estão mesmo a fazer uma parceria muito inteligente. E Stella has mentioned that she wants to write a book, discuss some topics. Stella, you have Carlos now. You can have these ideas from Mozambique, US, Mexico. I think this is networking. You can just work together and improve whatever you want to do from now on. So thank you so much for being with us. It was really wonderful experience learning from you, and I hope to see you next time and with other discussions. Thank you.
Correto. Eu só deixaria um notation para o professor Borges, porque eu lembro-me que numa das questões dele, ele disse que nós temos mais a parte auditiva ou para a cultura africana e tal. É verdade, temos isso, mas também podemos começar nós como professores a estimular que os africanos estejam mais abertos aos sistemas auditivos. E outra das coisas, como professor, eu também gostaria de conectar com professores de Moçambique, porque planejo fazer um piano method que inclui músicas moçambicanas. Então, é sempre bom a gente ter esse contato tanto com o Carlos como com o professor Borges, de forma a podermos cooperar para pensar em estratégias, porque as estratégias são muitas, mas talvez a gente tenha que começar pelo step 1, step 2 e irmos devagar até conseguirmos o sucesso no nosso país.
Okay. Thank you, Stella. And I think I will make sure that to share with you the Professor Borges contact for Eduardo Mondlane University because I know you are going, and he can also share in the chat. But I will make sure that to send to you all his
Perfect.
contacts, and then you will start connecting and talking.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I'll
Thank
connect with
you.
Carlos too offline.
Nice to meet you, Stella. Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you,
I
Carlos.
hope we
Thank
can
you.
continue talking in communication. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yes, it was beautiful. It was wonderful. But now the heavy is on you, Carlos. So, continuing our
That's
conversation.
fine.
Yes, I had a question for all of you. Like in your vision, Carlos, in your vision, what do you think? What are the barriers that still exist in implement inclusive education programs?
Yeah, I feel the main one is misunderstanding about what is disability and the necessities that people with disabilities might need.
Mm,
Because there is still, I think we need to educate more and share the findings more and the knowledge more with other educators for typical learners to really be open to ask for help. You don't need to be an expert in a special education. You just need to understand if you don't have the knowledge, you need to ask for help. That's the main thing because there are experts in this field where we can reach out and just discuss the solutions or the strategies that we might use to create equal access. So I think the main issue right now is just the understanding of disability.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned something here. I remember one of the questions that Emma was, when Emma put on the chat, was about children with special needs for music. Talvez, Emma, uma das coisas que eu queria clarificar é que normalmente nós dizemos uma criança com deficiência. Não é que a criança tenha necessidades educativas especiais para a música. Não. A criança é uma criança com deficiência. E nessa deficiência, nós estamos a dizer que esta criança tem capacidades e pode aprender a música, não é? Ou pode aprender qualquer instrumento que estiver interessada, conforme aquelas explicações que foram dadas aqui pelo professor Carlos e pela professora Stella. Não é? Então, normalmente, em termos de linguagem, agora eu estou a falar de linguagem, nós normalmente não dizemos criança com necessidades educativas especiais, nós dizemos criança, com deficiência, não é? Que pode ter alguma especificidade em termos de necessidades. Okay, so I was just explaining here to Emma how we normally use the approach in terms of language. We don't
Inclusive
say
language.
yes, in terms of language. Now we don't say a child with special needs. No, we say child with disabilities.
Mhm.
Within these disabilities, this child can have specific needs because we don't say it's a child with special needs for music. No, the
Mhm.
child doesn't have a special need for music. The child has a disability and she can learn different things depending on her interests. Okay, so this is in terms of how we say, in terms of how we use the terminology. I don't know, Andrea and Carlos, if you want to add something here, please.
Yeah, so that I said it's very important to understand that because we see like normally in, following the tradition, we think children with disabilities are children with less capacity for learning music and with less talent and less capacity to be a part of the music class, which is not true because the only thing they need is just a different way of learning, just a different way to learn how to play that instrument, how to be a part and belong to a music ensemble. So that's something we have to change because that's a philosophy that other educators might have. However, that you was saying, this modification to the inclusive language, it's very important to believe in every learner, right? And just define what necessities every learner have, no matter if that learner has a disability or not, because we learn in a different ways, different styles. So that's something we need to consider. So yeah, I just want to add that, and I just want to add that be open to ask for help. That's very important. Andrea,
Okay,
do you have something?
thank you.
You're
I don't know
welcome.
if Andrea, anytime, Andrea, if you want to add something, I think it's important here to really make it clear, and we are having this switch from the approaches from looking to disability has a deficit, but knowing that now we are able to do something. Okay, we are we are moving to the end of our program. It's being so interesting. Carlos, I have another question. How do you think my country, Mozambique, US, and Mexico, your country, how do you think these countries can learn from each other to improve inclusion in music education? As you notice, we have here a professor, a teacher in music in Mozambique. We may have others, but how do you think we can learn to each other?
Yeah, so I think we need to be open to talk about it and just consider the different cultures because I can see how the Mozambique culture is totally different than the Mexican culture and totally different to the educational system in the United States and the culture here about disability. So we need to focus and to learn from each other about what is working well in every country because maybe that I hear from Mozambique is the same in Mexico. We feel like we need more support in this, we need more support on that. But what is working well, right? We might not really have all of the resources, all of the budget, but still there are people working very hard to make things work. So we need to see what is working, what can we adapt in every country or just share as a common thing and start from there because I mean I feel like accommodations in special education and modifications needs are very attached to the culture of every individual because something that I can see right, maybe you cannot see right because you have another beliefs from your culture or other
Mhm.
traditions, right? And I can just feel, no, Vanessa is totally wrong because this is working in my country. This is the
Mhm.
no, we need to consider we are from different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds.
Mhm.
And that's something we don't see sometimes, and we feel because this is working in my country, in my community, this is the entire truth for the entire world, which is not. So I think we need to start working on what's working in your country, how do you implement that, and why it's important for your people, for your country, for your community, right? And we might
Mhm.
apply those for people that have a similar background that Mexicans or people from Mozambique.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carlos. I think it's really important what you are saying. And Professor Borges, he most of the time he keep repeating that, like, look to our contest, look how we were doing music from the beginning. When I remember we had a discussion topic related with the music and how to include if we are respecting children's right while doing music at our times, what kind of music are we producing? And I remember one of the things he was keep saying, like, look to our culture, look to where are we coming from to where we are now. So yeah, I think it's something to consider and to learn from your experience. I have a message here from Silva Tembe. Thank you, Mana Vanessa. Thank you so much, Silva Tembe, and thank you for joining us today. Obrigada por se juntar a nós. A Emma Guita diz: creio que a minha pergunta foi mal formulada quando me referi às necessidades especiais. Era com relação à deficiência. And, onde é que está? Perdi a pergunta. Ok, era em relação à deficiência e não à capacidade de aprendizagem. A pergunta era mesmo sobre quando encaminhar esta criança para a terapia com a música. Exactly. E acho que a Emma teve a resposta. A Emma was just clarifying, Carlos, what she was meaning when she did her question, because it was really to understand when is the right time to conduct a child with disability to have music lessons. Is there a right time, Carlos?
Yeah, so actually that depends on the disability, that depends on the plan. For example, the IEPs here in United States, the individual plan for every student, but basically again, that depends the context. For example, here in United States, I implement a plan where students start um, enjoying the choir class because through choir they can develop better communication skills because you are singing, and when you are singing you are improving your pronunciation, your cognitive develop to understand language, you are improving vocabulary, you are improving communication skills in general. So they might start with choir and they develop more motor skills little by little, and they can make the transition for choir to another physical instruments like violin, like clarinet, but choir is a good option to start here. However, talking
Mm-hmm.
about Mexico, I might not implement this plan because people don't like choir for some reason, but that's cultural, right? That's cultural again. So there, I might start with playing drums, maybe because they can improve coordination, right? They can improve communication too by saying words and playing the rhythm. So again, it depends the context, but in general, we need to think about what is the instrument or the class that might bring to that student the basic skills
Mm-hmm.
person needs. And that depends what skills that person already developed, right? If there isn't a gap in communication, let's think about what is the instrument that can help in that way. Maybe choir, maybe drums. So that depends the music educator style and what needs we have in the on the table, basically.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Carlos. I think you explained very well. And also, another question, Carlos. Emma says, thank you, Carlos. Another question that I have for you. Uh, what is one key message you want the audience to take away from today's webinar? What do you really want them to understand in this webinar? We are moving toward the end, and I want to give them also space to make some questions. If I know we have been doing the questions during the program, but they may have some questions too.
Sounds great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this is for everybody. Music is everywhere. When we born, we have music because we have sounds around us, right? The traffic, the TV, I mean, music is communication. We learn to speak by listening to sounds, by creating syllables that we attach in our brain by remembering the tuning of that voice. So music is everywhere. Music starts since we born. That's something is a part as a humans beings. Music is an expression of culture. It's a way of communicate what we like, what we don't like. It's a protest way also in this society. And I think we need to implement more the benefits of music. If we think in ourselves, we can see when we are feeling happy, sad, whatever, we normally listen to music, I'm pretty sure. When you are stressed, when you are working, when you are driving, we use music as a tool to reinforce our emotions and as a tool to really get confident in many different ways in this life. So music is a part of us. And we as educators and special educators, we can use music no matter if you are a musician or not, right? You can start your class by listening to any type of music. You can value the opinion and the voice of your students by including their favorite music in your class. You can ask them, what is your favorite composer? What is your favorite music? And I guarantee if you play that song in your class, you are going to create this space for that student that they might feel, oh, that the teacher is listening to me. He's including my preferences. He's including my culture. So that's something we can implement no matter if you are a music educator or not, because yeah, as I already said, music have instructional approaches that we can use to just change a little bit the script. Think about the outside of the box,
Mhm.
right? We are like, oh my gosh, this is not working. We can get frustrated if you are working in a special education or in education, but think about the box. What can you do different? And music
Mm.
is there to use as a tool to make something more fun in your classroom, something more interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. I think these are really great tips. And I have another question, like for parents. Um, what are the next steps for educators or parents who wants to introduce music to children with disabilities? I have a children with disability in my house, my son, my nephew, whatever. I'm educator. I have a children with disability in my school. What is the steps I need to go through to introduce my child or my student to music?
That's a very good question. So that depends what resources you have available. Let's say
Mm,
you have a music program available, so you might reach out to the music teacher, the orchestra conductor, and
mm,
ask for accommodations, right? And create those accommodations to make access to that person with disabilities. But let's think we don't have a music program, we don't have budget to buy instruments, so we need to start from scratch.
mm,
Let's start using whatever you have and use music as a way of expression, because in that way you can start developing that creative way of thinking and developing that cognitive skills that we need to learn music. So let's say
mm,
you don't have anything, but you can use your desk and just start playing drums, right? The rhythm. Now I'm making
mm,
music right now. I don't have a drum, but I have a desk. So I'm making music.
mm.
You don't have a desk, you can clap, right? And you just start singing, making different rhythms. So we have many different ways to make music, but the first step is just start. Just
Okay.
think us outside of the box and you see what do you have and how you can use those materials or resources that you have there to start making music.
Okay. Andrea says, yes, good advice. Just start.
Yeah, Andrea, you can start your music lessons also.
I'm on the same spot like Andrea. So, thank you so much, Carlos. And we are almost at the end of our program. I just want to, yes, Andrea, don't laugh. Start your lessons now. So, as I was saying, we are almost at the end of our program. I just want to say thank you. Before we move to last questions, I want to say thank you everybody for joining us today, for being part of this series of programs that we are organizing. The idea from now until December is that I'm organizing, Continue the Sissi, it's organizing in partnership with Remote Line programs related with inclusion. Yes, my goal, our goal is to have these discussions about inclusive education, have these discussions about the rights of persons with disabilities, have these discussions about how to remove the social barriers that we have in the society. So it's by talking, but sharing each other our views, how we think about these different topics. And we also have as our partner in this process, Extralingual, who is our language interpreter for English to Portuguese and Portuguese to English. So if you didn't have the chance to use the service, please in our next programs, make sure that you use the service and also give us a feedback. How is it working? Did you like it? Do you think we should improve something? Please give us a feedback and recommendations on how and what can we improve. And now, before we go, I want to say thank you to you, Andrea, Lucilene, Emma Gita, Sidonia, Silva, who are still here, Borges, Eurico, for joining us today. And I don't know if you have a final word to say to Carlos, if you have a question or something. This is the moment for us to talk. Please feel free. Lucilene, this is your time to shine. Show your English, my sister. Please feel free. Andrea, do you have a question, a comment? This is our moment. Borges, Eurico,
Yes,
Silva.
I
Yes,
have a
Andrea.
I have a comment foremost. I would like to thank you, Vanessa, for organizing this. This is important work, and I would also like to uh, just commend Carlos for his hard work elevating music within special education. I think globally, especially focusing on countries which have been disenfranchised so economically, socially, by imperialism. How do you see music education becoming a sustaining, I guess, part of students with disabilities becoming accepted into the general population? Because oftentimes students with disabilities are looked at as deviances. They're not typical. So how can we use music to really form a home within certain spaces, especially focusing on education? I would like to hear your thoughts on that, Carlos. Thank
Wonderful. That's a great question. Yeah, so um, with your question, I remember an article that they did a survey nationwide here in the United States, and the most of the music educators feel they're not ready to work with the students with disabilities, which is very alarming because they are the people that might provide this access, but they feel they can't. So the first thing to make this more sustainable for everybody is to start teaching and making opportunities of improvements for music educators to work in exceptional education. That's the first thing that I see. However, since we are finding more research about the benefits of music education and special education, more people are getting more interest, which is fine. So the next part I just gonna say is for the school district to include music in every special education programs in every school, but also that's very difficult for the budget part that is happening. So financial is getting very difficult. However, as an educators that I said early, we need to be creative and we can just include music by playing desk or just by clapping. But there are the benefits of music. So I think we might just spread the word, right? At this point, spread the word about the benefits of this, and just as a scholars be open to help, right? Maybe they don't have the budget to pay for a training, but we might just make recommendation and just say you can do this and that, and just try it and just start doing that, right? So, I mean, it's a pretty tricky question to answer with a solid answer because it's many things happening right now, but I gonna say just spread the word and express the word why this is important.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Carlos. And I think it's exactly precisely what we are doing now at the moment, trying to spread the word and showing that it's possible. You can have your child with disability, student with disability, learning music. This is not something, it's not activity for some, it's for all of us. You just need to like it and love it. So thank you. Borges, you have a question, please?
No, it's not a question. It's
Oh,
just a
sorry.
comment because you said we can comment, right?
Yeah, yes, please. You
And
also can comment.
and I'll take it from the last take from Carlos, spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say is kind of a testimony and to encourage people to bring and to offer opportunities for any kid, especially for those with special needs, as we are, talking about inclusive education.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, I happened to teach in a kindergarten, and I met a kid. I think he was 10 to 11-year old. I was told that that kid was there 2 years, I guess. Yes, almost 2 years, and they never heard him speaking to anyone. Whenever they tried to encourage him, to force him to speak, he would just cry, but no one had heard his voice. Then what I did, because I don't teach music for special need kids, I looked for material, I read things to see how I could deal with that special kid, the only special kid that existed in that kindergarten. And believe me, after 3 months, the head of the school was amazed. And the kid's mother invited me to teach her son at home during the weekends, because at school we only had one session per week. The kid had autism. Guess what I did with him? I understood that whenever he saw a keyboard, most people call it piano, but not everything is piano. Whenever he saw a keyboard, he was anxious and enthusiastic to play the keyboard. And most teachers that passed from the school would not allow him to play, because, well, they think he doesn't play, he doesn't know how to play. And what I've learned from my reading is that allow him to do what he likes to do. And I started, buying the friendship with him through allowing him to play the piano, even when there were no music classes. I asked permission to allow him to just play with the keyboard. After probably a month, I started to teach him hand by hand to play notes in that piano. Really, after 3 months, that kid started to play some songs, and they heard him speak for the first time. And what he said was, "Where is Mr. Borges?" And they phoned me to tell me that. So music is a magic, believe me. That's what I wanted to share as my last take for this participation. And thank you, Vanessa. Again, thank you, Carlos. I've learned a lot from you and from everyone's questions and comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that amazing story. Yeah, I think we need to be very patient when we are working in special education.
That's why I'm saying it's like today, I don't know, guys, this topic today and what you are sharing, what I'm learning, is beautiful. Indeed, I think music is beautiful, and it's something that we really need to put ourselves and our society and our community in a situation where they can perceive that everyone can do whatever they want. Emma Dish, wow, what a beautiful story. Indeed, it's a beautiful story because it for me, it's like being persistent with what you are doing, believing that the child is able to do, and really putting your love for your work, for what you like, for what you really love, so yes, congratulations, and thank you, Borges, for sharing. And these kind of testimonies, at least for me, for us, make me feel like, okay, this is the right thing to do. I'm from Mozambique. I'm Mozambican, and I know I'm very conscious that my country has more than 30 million of population. I wish we can have more than at least 500 people here. No, it's we are not at this level yet, but just hearing you sharing this kind of stories, it means that we are doing something and for the good. So yes, thank you so much. I have another message in the chat. Sidonia is saying, thank you, Carlos, Vanessa, and Prof. Borges. Amazing story. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you. So I think this is the end of our program. If we don't have someone else who wants to share something? I don't know. And Borges says, step by step, we will be at 100 and 1,000 participants. Yes, we start from somewhere. I don't know if you have something else to say.
Um,
Emma. Oh, Eurico, please.
okay,
Yeah.
I will try to be brief. Boa noite, ao estão Moçambique. Good afternoon, I guess, from you in the US. Unfortunately, I couldn't join from the beginning, so I don't have much to say, but I'm really interested in attending sessions like this. I don't understand music. Obviously, I listen to music and I like it. What I would like to say is that supporting what Vanessa said, this is the right thing to do, to spread the word, to talk about it, to hear inspirations, to get experiences from people who work in the area. Eventually, we'll have a better world by start discussing about it, discussing this topic. Thank you. I will, as much as I can, I will attend other sessions, not only on disabilities, but related to other topics. Congratulations to all organizers and participants.
Thank you. Really good comment. So I'm just gonna put my email on the comments on the chat, and you can email me if you have any questions about music or inclusion in music or anything. I will be more than happy to continue this with you guys. Yes, you are making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. I was Emma, I don't know, I don't want to put you on spot, but I don't know if you want to comment on something before we leave. Or Silva. If not, I think we are done for today. And once again, Carlos, thank you so much. Oh, I think Emma wants to say something. Please, Emma.
Just say thank you, Vanessa. It was wonderful to be part of this wonderful conversation and to learn, Bubble, to learn, because we see people disabled or disabled people. We cross with them every day, and they're just a person over there. But now for me, now that I'm studying actually about this, being part of this kind of conversation makes a lot of sense, and it makes me look at them with a different kind of sense, with a different kind of a heart, maybe actually, because it's not that I mean, I would ignore them. Okay, we see them and we understand, okay, it's a person with special needs, okay, fine. But when we start to think about how can we include this kind of people in our work, now that hits different. And hearing about the different kind of ways that we can do that and how to gain their confidence, friendship, make them feel comfortable to express themselves, because sometimes they don't even have the chance to do that. And that hits different. I love to hear from all you guys. And I'm looking forward for the next sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Emma. And I think you say it all. I think it's a learning process. It's not that we are already in the ideal stage, or we know everything, and or even how to say things. Until today, I'm learning how to express. I remember one of the meetings with Dr. David. I wrote something in a way and he just correct, because the approach I was using was not the ideal one. But I thought, oh no, this is correct. So I think it's a learning process for all of us. This process of inclusion is like we will be doing step by step, but it's discussing, sharing the world, and networking, learning from different cultures. How can we do to improve and to make our society better? Guys, I will keep saying bye, bye, bye. So it's always hard to say bye. I don't know if Silva, if you don't want to say something, I just want to say again to all of you, thank you for coming. Special to you, Carlos, thank you. I wanted today to have a music, but I didn't plan well. So probably in the future we will have a session with a little bit of music, Stella playing, Carlos, I don't know which instrument, I don't know, but it will be something for the future. So, Carlos, thank you so much. It was so insightful. I learned a lot. I think Carlos told you guys he was my. Oh, I think Borges want to do something. You
Oh,
mute, Borges. Please do it. Oh, no. Oh, come on. I was like, oh, look at Mozambique representing here. That will be beautiful. Thank you. So, Carlos, yeah, just to say thank you. I was saying Carlos is my classmate. He's the guy distracting me in all statistic classes. I'm very good at stats, very good at maths, and he is the guy always trying to distract me there.
we were in trouble sometimes with with the professor.
Yeah, so
And
thank
Andrea
you.
too. Andrea too. It's a part of the disturbance.
Yeah, of our team. So yeah, thank you to everyone. I will share in our platforms when is our next meeting, when is our next topic, and we can discuss together. So see you next time. Thank you, Carlos, for being
Thank
with
you,
us.
Vanessa, and congratulations for these initiatives. Okay, keep doing it. Very
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Andrea say very excellent, Vanessa. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you for joining us today, honestly. So, guys, hey, and guys, just to let you know, we will have Andrea soon also here discussing some interesting topics in our program.
I
So,
have 10 questions for you, Andrea, ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready right now.
Perfect. Looking forward for your session.
thank you. So, guys, menino, gente, família, eu nunca consigo ser a primeira a sair, portanto, eu vou pedir que sejam vocês, não é, a retirarem-se da sala e vou esperar, ahm, e vou esperar que vocês saiam para terminar o programa. So, Carlos, feel free, because normally I stay until the end, and I think I will still have a meeting here with the Extralingual. So